2017-18 Literacy Workgroup Targets. The Literacy Workgroup completes annual targets to improve and enhance literacy instruction, processes, and procedures. The purpose of this presentation is to provide an overview and the status of the 2017-18 Literacy Workgroup Targets. This presentation is for the board's information.
Welcome.
Good evening. Thanks. Good evening, Dr. Thompson, President Rohde, members of the board. We are very excited to be here today. Our purpose is to share with you the literacy workgroup process and our progress towards our goal. My name is Christy O'Toole. I'm the Executive Director of Curriculum and Instruction. And with me today is Tammy Martin. She is our Elementary ELA Curriculum Specialist. So just a reminder, we have work groups, our MTSS work groups, and their goal is to support the implementation of the MTSS framework. The literacy work group is one of 8 work groups that will make a recommendation to the MTSS district leadership team. That recommendation then goes to the academic leadership team for the decisions. Our work groups consist of core teams, task force groups, and focus groups. The core teams include many leaders with varied expertise, and all of the people in our work groups work together towards our task. This is a representation of the members on our literacy work group core team. Move this closer. The target that we are here to talk to you about is the target where we are recommending an elementary ELA comprehensive curriculum for the 2018-2019 school year. The reason that we have this target is that in 2006, we adopted a K-5 comprehensive curriculum for elementary. A few years later, in 2010, we adopted the Common Core standards for Kansas. Shortly thereafter, we knew that our current curriculum was not meeting our needs. The district wrote and published the decoding routines, and they began to work on the instructional unit guides that we currently have. Those things were created to support the curriculum in the classroom and to support teachers. Between 2013 and 2016, the guides were updated annually to continue the alignment and integrate science and social studies. In 2016, the workload committee expressed that really our teachers are having to pull from so many different curriculums, and they're spending so much time planning on what they were needing to teach to meet the standards that we really needed to start looking at something. We need something that is comprehensive for our teachers. Why is this target so critical? I think our literacy work group targets are extremely critical because they affect so many of our students. We have 54 elementary schools, 3 K-8 buildings, 26,177 students, and 11.8% of our elementary students in Kansas are in our school district. So next we're going to focus on the process that we've been using. One of our critical questions was, what does Wichita USD 259 need in a literacy curriculum? We gathered that information from various stakeholders. We evaluated the research, and our group developed the criteria that we wanted to use in order to determine who would pilot and what kinds of things needed to happen during that pilot. One of the things we determined was what our curriculum must include. These were our non-negotiables. We knew that the curriculum that we wanted to use would have to have a decoding for phonological awareness, phonics, decodable text, vocabulary, comprehension, fluency. We had a varied list of things that we were looking for in any of our curriculum. Next, our literacy work group worked together with task force groups and focus groups to analyze feedback. And we went from having 7 different curriculum that we felt met the needs, and we narrowed those down to 3 possible curriculums that we wanted to pilot. Currently, right now, we are piloting Journeys, Open Court, and ReadyGen. Another thing that we wanted to make sure that we spent time carefully doing was choosing pilot schools and teachers so that we could have a variety of people represented. The other thing that we wanted to make sure was that we had a variety of teaching experience. So we have teachers right now with 1 year and over 20 years experience piloting.
Once we had the buildings and the teachers selected, we wanted to ensure that we provided those teachers with ample professional learning in order to be successful within their pilot. So in April and then again in August, those identified teachers, administrators, and curriculum specialists started receiving professional learning opportunities from the pilot companies. Then from September, and will continue through December, these pilot companies have been out visiting the teachers in their classrooms, answering questions, and also holding grade level retreats in which the teachers got to come out and get very specific professional learning for their grade level as well. We also had groups of stakeholders that took a look at the curriculum side by side. So they evaluated each one of the 3 choices for curriculums. And it was very important to us that these were unbiased, fresh eyes. So these are not teachers that are participating in the pilot that have been trained on one curriculum. They are literacy leaders from within the district that had not yet seen the curriculums that evaluated them side by side using a rubric. We also had literacy work group members and other literacy leaders visit surrounding districts that have adopted and are using these curriculums in the classroom. We wanted to see them being used both in Wichita classrooms and outside the district as well. And one of the more exciting things we did is we also had teacher candidates from WSU come out and evaluate the curriculum side by side as well. We wanted to ensure that whatever we chose would be something that is user-friendly, that any novice teacher could pick up and feel efficacious implementing into the classroom with their students. So looking forward, on November 14th, our pilot teachers will meet and they're going to provide us some of the strengths and concerns that they see within the curriculums. And our literacy work group will start to review that feedback a couple days afterwards. We will have a community meeting on November 27th in which that focus group will hear the results of the analysis and get to provide continued feedback. And on November 28th, the literacy work group will get together to work on putting together our final recommendation. This recommendation will be presented both to the district leadership team and academic leadership team. And then we will be back on December 11th to share with you our progress with this literacy work group target. So these are the 4 co-facilitators of the literacy work group, and we welcome your questions.
Okay, thank you again for your presentation. How did you go about deciding the pilot schools? I didn't quite follow your selection process. I see the breakout, but.
Right. The first thing we did was we asked, it was important to us to make sure that we had teachers that wanted to pilot. We didn't want anyone to have to, use that curriculum. So we asked, and we received a lot of feedback. We had many, many teachers who wanted to pilot. So what we did after we figured out who wanted to pilot, we divided those into an extensive Excel spreadsheet, and we marked which schools had AVID, which schools were ESOL. And then we really went through and looked at, we have 3 curriculum, and we wanted to make sure that our curriculum was piloted at each one of those schools. So we looked at kindergarten and said, okay, we're gonna do a pilot here, here, and here. And it took us a while, but I think we did a pretty good job of making sure we had everything covered.
And I was sitting here thinking, okay, they're just going to use this for analysis to see title versus non-title. I had it complicated, so thank you.
Joy?
Thanks for sharing what's coming in December. I had a couple quick questions, one for you and one for perhaps Dr. Thompson. The first is, in your non-negotiable list of things, you mentioned handwriting. Does that include cursive writing or only print writing?
It includes both.
That is the best news I've heard all day.
We have heard that loud and clear from our
Well,
community.
I think, I think someone from Learning Services did a presentation on cursive writing and how that impacts student learning. And I'm watching, because the students that I work with didn't have cursive writing, and I'm watching kind of how that plays out for them as they're kind of learning it now, thinking they need it. So it's really hard in middle school and high school to take notes if you can't write clear cursive. So I think that's awesome. And then my other question, just around, I'm gonna find it, I'm sorry, I've lost it, on the why screen, Dr. Thompson. And this is just a question for you as board thinks about adoption of curriculum. How often really should we be adopting new curriculums? Did this one fall out because there was such a big swing in the educational establishment, at the state level, or would we expect that we adopt this for next year and then 4 to 5 years later it's out? I mean, what is that time frame usually?
Hence the importance of what she talked about is looking at your criteria of what you want, the skill sets that you want your kids to have. So we don't buy curriculum for swinging of what other people do, because we'd be buying curriculum probably, I don't know, very frequent. But we did look at the skill sets that were important to our community and to the teachers and to the skills that we know kids need in order to be able to read effectively, and that's how we selected that. So we wouldn't have the opportunity to keep swinging. We've had this curriculum for quite a while, and it's just time. It's time because for a lot of different reasons. One of them is because it doesn't meet the needs of the skills that our kids need, hence why teachers were having to, that we learned in the work group study that we had, that they have to pull from many, many different pieces of curriculum to be able to do a lesson, which is not effective, and it's not good to plan that way. It's hard to plan that way. So we wanted to make this curriculum to be comprehensive so that we were able to meet the skills in which our students need, and that's hence how we selected this particular work.
So, which is what we saw last year when we talked with math teachers, they had the same problem of patchwork curriculum.
Yes.
So then would we expect that a board would potentially adopt curriculum every 10 years, 15 years? I'm just
Oh.
asking for a ballpark, because there are people coming on the board soon. I would want to know if I were you, Stan.
Well, as you know, as we've been out in our listening sessions, we are behind quite a
Yes.
bit. And so you can't say you want to replace it a certain amount of time, because if your dollars are not there to be able to do that, then it's very hard to be able to keep up with when you rotate things through. And we will be building within our strategic plan a comprehensive plan on what we would recommend how the cycles should go, just like we would do for technology or anything else.
And
So that needs to
carpet
be
and-
built,
Great, thank you so much.
yes.
Cheryl?
Thank you very much for this presentation, and we're excited because we've been looking forward to and saving money for this new adoption, so we're glad it's finally pretty close. Couple of questions. On the work group process, which is on page 6 of my handout, that lists the things, the criteria. If you could put that up on the screen so that the audience could see it as well, please. Yeah, that right there. The committee itself, are they the ones that put this criteria together? Was it put together by the district? How did we come up with, these are the critical pieces that have to be in every pilot?
Right, and that was probably one of the things that we spent the most time on, was getting that feedback from teachers, from administrators, from the MTSS district leadership team, and other stakeholders. And that wasn't just elementary, that was K-12.
So you really surveyed or talked to, in some, probably many different forms, different user groups,
Yes,
for lack of a better term.
yes.
Okay. once this was put into place, and then you moved on to do your pilots, which your pilot schools, if my count is correct, there's 39 different categories of schools, you know, some are title, non-title avid. I would assume some of those schools might be in one or more of the, more than one category. Would that be
Yes.
true?
Yes, that's true.
Okay, and I'm also assuming that not every teacher in any given building does it. It's just select teachers?
It's select teachers, but one of the things we did that was a little different was we asked the entire grade level to pilot together.
That's a good thing, so they had
Yes.
peers. That's good.
Yes, so they could collaborate together.
Did we have more than one pilot in the same building?
Yes.
Yes.
So they could,
Just on a rare occasion, there were a couple of buildings that would have more than one pilot. Sometimes they would have 2 grade levels piloting the same curriculum. And on occasion, we had one building that would be piloting 2 different curriculums.
yeah, because that could be useful information too, because they talk to each other and so on. So when we come, well, one more question before that one. The ELL students, the English language learners, and the special ed students, is curriculum included in this adoption for those students, or are they going to be doing something different?
When we've looked at the adoption of the curriculum, we have included ESOL special education teachers within the pilot. So while we have classroom teachers listed, their support staff has been helping with that as well. We have also, when we've started looking at a potential contract with one of the companies or any of the companies, we have asked for materials both for special education and our ELL population. Our hope is really that we can utilize the curriculum for core learning, and we want the students to be presented with grade level materials, and we will scaffold and provide differentiation for those students in order to have the curriculum meet their needs.
So we would be serving our ELL students in
Yes.
with our regular students with this
Yes.
curriculum. So thank you. Last question is, as you're getting back together to determine, and I know I saw your schedule and it's pretty healthy on what you're doing, and bringing people back together, who is the final group that says, we're choosing this one? Is it that original team?
Yes, it'll be the original team. What they'll be doing is looking at all the recommendations, and they will say, this is our final recommendation, and then that, along with the additional data, goes to the MTSS district leadership team, and then the academic leadership team.
And at that point, they start negotiating price with a company?
Yes,
Okay, so we don't consider that until the end, correct?
correct.
Okay, thank you. Excellent presentation. I'm glad we're as far along as we are.